All right, welcome to the UX Showcase. I'm Dimitri Hoekstra. I'm going to present for the progressive delivery stage group under release. I'm going to talk a little bit about A/B testing and our problem validation of that new part of our product, as you will. So first off, a little bit general things. Where is release within the DevOps lifecycle? It's right there in between package and configure after verify. And we're kind of like the gateway towards the next stage group, such as configure and monitor. So we make that possible, and they extend upon our feature set, as you will. Then we go a little bit into who are part of the progressive delivery stage. In every part of my presentation, you can find links at the bottom corner so you can quickly navigate towards that. But on this page, you can see who is part of the stage group, all awesome people to work with. And you can also see our product categories. So please dive a little bit deeper into that if you're interested in that. Then on to the next, I have a little bit more general news. Progressive Delivery also has a new UX-specific handbook page. It includes things like quick links to other pages that are relevant for the Progressive Delivery stage group, the UX roadmap, product planning, target personas, jobs to be done, product or department level OKRs, but also stage group OKRs, which you can see on the right side. This is a new thing we're going to try out with Q3, and I think it's pretty exciting. Then you have rituals and meetings. They're all listed there, plus recordings. This is, of course, a work in progress, but I think it's pretty nice that you can immediately dive deep into the actual things that are going on into the stage groups. Performance indicators that are more UX department level, but also coming in are stage group specific performance indicators. Those are a work in progress at the moment. And some info on UX depth triaging. Please check it out. The link is in the slides. Then on to the main topic of today's presentation, which is A/B testing. And a little bit onto the why and what is it. So A/B testing is a important part of progressive delivery. And in order to explain a little bit about that, I have to briefly explain the difference between progressive delivery and continuous delivery. I want to highlight that my previous UX showcase went into detail on this topic. And basically, progressive delivery is an extension of continuous delivery, where continuous delivery makes it possible to continuously deliver your code to your production environment, kind of reducing that iteration cycle. And also, of course, as stated before, the gateway to operations and such as configure and the monitor stage functionality. It kind of expands beyond that and makes it less risky to deploy. It still makes it automated, but for example, you can create feature flags, which you can turn off immediately. Some functionality which might introduce risk in your deployment. A/B testing expands upon that, where you can use these feature flags in a sort of like encapsulated state for a single experiment and kind of test out or solution validate which direction is the better one. Apart from that, progressive delivery expands on deployment strategies such as feature flags and A/B testing, but also blue-green deployments. And additionally goes into detail on post-deployment monitoring. And I think, as I detailed also out in my last UX showcase, it transfers the control of the deployments to new personas. And that's especially true for A/B testing, which I'm talking about today. A/B testing is geared at new personas such as designers, product managers, and anyone else that might be influenced by those or as a stakeholder in those A/B tests. Again, links in the bottom corner, so please feel free to check that out. A brief view at the business goal. We want to develop an A/B testing solution as an expansion of our feature flags to further our offering towards progressive delivery. This is going to bring in new personas to the progressive delivery stage group, which is going to bring more value and also add to the performance indicators such as SMAO and GMAO for us internal at GitLab. The job to be done here is when we have multiple solutions, I want to be able to test them and monitor key data variables so I can find out the preferred method of moving forward. A very simple example of this is you have a sign-up page, and one sign-up page is a little bit different than the other one. It is not really clear which one is the better one, and you want to kind of validate each direction and see which one works best. Of course, there should be a human aspect to the decision, but at least gives you an indication of which direction is objectively better, or at least helps you make that decision. So on to the next, which goes into the opportunity canvas. I just want to highlight a few points. At the bottom corner, you see a little bit of a legend where the light blue is problem focused, the dark blue is business case focused, and the green is a little bit solution focused. It kind of gives perspective as to how big the market is. Currently, it's at $48.5 million. And by 2025, this market of A/B testing will be around $10.8 billion. And we're going to target ourselves at least 2% market share by that time. So this is gonna result in seat expansion. It's gonna result in increased AICV, as this will be a paid feature, and of course stickiness if combined with feature functionality from follow-up or downstream stage groups such as monitor, plan, and testing. We do have a nice differentiation here. Launch Darkly charges per API request. We want to be that it is going to give us our competitive advantage. We're going to do something else there that is yet to be decided what, but it is an important fact to highlight here. And of course, our single tool chain, we're going to bring in all necessary data and evidence for A/B tests that are going to matter and going to give that experience that much more worth inside of GitLab. Even though we might be a little bit late in the game, I think that is going to be give us that much more of an advantage there. As said before, new personas, especially growth teams, are going to rely on this feature. I know our internal growth teams are super happy we're working on this. And as can be seen in the pain points, we want to be bringing together all those personas and all those that information into a single place inside GitLab, and not let it be a disorganized effort anymore for our customers, as well as ourselves, of course. The growth team can be a testament to that and say how much of value this will bring to us. I don't want to go too much into detail further into this. I invite everyone to read the opportunity canvas. There's also a recording of our latest meeting into that. Links in the bottom this corner. Then I go into the research. So we're currently doing a problem validation. This finding out what we need for our offering inside of our product. We have a brief kind of definition of done here. We have, of course, created our discussion guide, did our recruitment, our interviewing. We're currently in the phase of Dovetail tagging, which Dovetail is the product which we use for our research. And we're doing the insight creation along with issue creation, which is kind of like a secondary step there. Next step, which I will go a little bit into detail on later in the presentation, is going for that ideation sessions, which I want to guide partly with whiteboarding sessions, do some follow-up interviewing if need be, mostly internal, and basically do it as holistically as possible, including the right stakeholders at the right time, and then eventually following into planning breakdown. Then on to the next, there's some interview learnings. I've interviewed a lot. There were like 13 participants. That is because there were multiple personas to interview, and I did part of it internal and part of it external. So here you can see they were like multiple personas across product management, design, and engineering. This was nice. I do say it was a little overkill, but that is after the fact. I would say make sure the external recruitment form is tested well. We had a little bit of an error there where some of the people we got in that actually responded to our form online didn't give their contact details, rendering their responses useless. So that's a thing to keep in mind once again. It's good to ask about company details, make sure that the company actually aligns with the target audience we're developing for. I had one participant which didn't align, and which research results were so different from what we are targeting that I think that could have been prevented if I would have checked the company beforehand. But that is at least a learning for next time. On the upside, recruitment and interviewing internally goes super fast. I was really surprised by this again, but it's nice to highlight. On the other hand, I think this is kind of nice to keep as a tool available to kind of validate your discussion guide. Interview with at least one person internally, see if you have the right granularity and specifics in your questions. That is kind of nice. I put a link here in this, to a Slack thread in the UX Research Slack channel. So if you have any feedback regarding this, please leave it in that Slack thread. The link you can find in my slides here. And as the last point here, I think for this research specifically, the internal interviewing seemed to yield the most valuable results. This is because the research participants could tell about both their previous experience, so before GitLab, and their in GitLab experience with A/B testing, about their needs and wants. And with that, I would have said, looking back at it, perhaps internal interviewing would have been enough, at least initially, and then with a secondary wave of research later on in the process. Going on to the interviewing highlights, these are just some highlights I want to highlight. I would say read them through, but some things are kind of nice here. So say, for example, product management takes the final decision, but right below there is, based on the higher objective, we made a proposal to the head of marketing. They would approve, but it would be a team call to push it forward. So there's some insight to be gotten out from there and say, like, all right, what is the right way that decision should be taken? Should it be an approval process, yes or no? So there's a lot of material for us to go through and kind of base our insights on. Then on to the next, I think this is the more exciting one. Some early insights. Here you can see who is kind of involved so far with A/B tests. You can see, hey, the product manager is an important persona. Of course, the engineer. We talk a lot with people who are from e-commerce sites, but of course, our own marketing department is marketing related. Growth is marketing related, so it's not strange to see that here. But especially the designer/research persona is there. Data analyst is super important, and then we have some, engineering manager who can be seen as part of engineering, I would say. To highlight a few of the early insights, I think it is interesting that we see that each experiment needs its own single source of truth, kind of bringing together all that communication, evidence, decisions, and also, most importantly, that post-mortem. Documented that decision and the reason why and what happened after, I think is super important the longer you go into A/B testing. Of course, this one is kind of nice. Data presentations often related to business metrics. We have had multiple examples where they want to be reported or derived back to AICV in order to say, all right, is this experiment beneficial to our product or company or not? Instead of like, all right, we want to have so many clicks, like that doesn't mean too much. You need to derive it back to business metrics, as you will. There's a lot of other interesting insights here, and these are just the first few. There's got to be a lot more, but I think with the information we currently have, we can go to at least a viable state of A/B testing, which is nice. So to kind of conclude, there's a clear business opportunity. The growth team would welcome it. We expand our own and our customers' ability to do solution validation and do it more easily. I think this is going to be super welcome. We can go to viable, and it increases, of course, the value of progressive delivery considerably by bringing in new personas, and it is a great opportunity to follow the product development workflow from start to finish from my own perspective. That is it. Apart from next steps, of course, which I talked about a little bit before, we're going to do some whiteboarding. I want to include the right stakeholders at the right time. We're going to do some story mapping, I foresee. Then a think big ideation in Figma, so like a main single source of truth design file that is going to fuel multiple implementation epics and issues. And of course, road mapping along with product management, making sure that the right issues are scheduled at the right time. Other than that, there's an additional effort of making jobs to be done central, for progressive delivery with a focus on continuous delivery, not progressive delivery. And it is related to one of our OKRs. So that is what is going on in progressive delivery. And I thank you for listening to me. Please feel free to reach out and or leave feedback in this Slack thread. Links in the description.